Welcome to the March 18th, 2013 City Council meeting. We are pleased this evening to have Pastor Dan Lewis from the Troy Christian Chapel with us to give the invocation. And please remain standing after the invocation and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Lewis, if you would come forward, thank you.
Shall we bow for prayer? Heavenly Father, we give you thanks that you have given to us life and breath, and you, as the author of the world in which we live, have done this so that we might seek your face. We ask for your blessing upon this council this evening, upon the citizens of our city, and we pray this in the name of Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Troy City Council meeting is hereby called to order. The roll call, Ms. Bittner.
Mayor Slater?
Here.
Councilmember Campbell? Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Here.
Councilmember Henderson?
Here.
Councilmember McGinnis? Councilmember Pennington?
Here.
Councilmember Teets?
Here.
I did receive an email during the week from council members McGinnis and Campbell that they would be absent this evening. So if somebody would like to move a resolution, please. Mayor Pro Tem Fleming.
Yes. Resolved that Troy City Council hereby excuses the absences of Councilwoman McGinnis and Councilman Campbell at the regular City Council meeting of March 18, 2013 due to being out of the county.
Second.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Fleming and supported by Councilman Teets that we excuse the absence of Council members McGinnis and Campbell at the regular City Council meeting of March 18, 2013 due to being out of the county. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Motion passes. The first order of business is certificates of recognition and special presentations. And first on the list is C1, Transit Center Status Report, with a presentation by Steve Van Dett from City. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to be here tonight to give you a brief progress report on what's progress has been made in the last 2 weeks since I was here presenting for your approval 3 amendments, the funding amendment and the engineering and the construction amendment for the crash wall. Shortly after the meeting, CN gave us formal approval on the design of the crash wall, and a construction bulletin was issued. And this is a slide of the foundation mat that was constructed approximately a week ago. This is actually the entire tower foundation on the west side, on the Birmingham side. The crash wall will be constructed between the sheet, the steel sheeting here, and this row of reinforcement rods here. It's 30 inches thick, and it'll be 12 feet high above grade. So we've got the foundation mat in. MDOT proceeded with the amendments for the funding. In fact, we just got the funding amendment tonight for Mayor for you to formally execute. We're waiting on the other 2 documents for the construction and engineering portions. And the foundation for the West Tower, as you can see, has been poured. This is the first pour. A slide showing a little bit more of the finished foundation mat. And during the next 2 weeks, the wall itself will be going up. During the time that the wall was being constructed, the contractor has been working on the east side, and I don't have a slide to show you except for this slide here. They were working on the east side, on the Troy side, putting up the steel for the towers and attaching the precast concrete panels to the tower. And also, just a few days ago, late last week, they started putting up the steel for the Transit Center building itself. Coming up in April, after the steel is done in about 2 weeks, after the building steel is complete, they'll be putting the masonry onto the building and the roof system. They'll be installing steel on the west side for the tower. That'll look pretty much exactly like this, except with the thicker wall on the lower 12 feet. And they'll be delivering a partially assembled bridge to the site. And in April, probably mid to late April, they'll be setting the bridge itself between the two towers. Following that, late April and early March, they'll be working on the platform installation, putting in the caissons for the platform, and then constructing the surface of the platform itself. Coming up on April 8th, the next council meeting, we will be presenting the Amtrak lease agreement. The Amtrak lease we've been working on for a very long time, our legal department and with Amtrak. When it's brought before you on April the 8th, what it says that the city leases the facility to Amtrak for $1, and Amtrak pays 100% of operation and maintenance costs, such as electricity, gas, water, snow removal, sewer, building maintenance, landscape maintenance, everything associated with the operation of the facility. Later on, hopefully in April, we'll have 3 more agreements. We're working on those with the legal department and with CN. These are, the 3 agreements are first an easement, which allows the towers and the bridge and the platform, everything to be located in the right-of-way. And the second is a construction agreement, which allows everything to be built except for the bridge. The bridge is a separate agreement. That is a license agreement, and that allows the bridge, it's a license to build the bridge and only the bridge. It does not include air rights over the tracks. It's only for the bridge construction itself. There's no cost associated with these 3 items, these 3 agreements, and I hope to be bringing them to you sometime in April, as soon as we can get all of our work finished with CN. At the present time, I don't even have a license agreement. I know what it's going to say, but I haven't seen it yet. We haven't received it yet, but it is, as I said, a license for the bridge specifically, and it's separate from the other two agreements. So with that, I will say, though, in closing, that the construction is proceeding smoothly, and we continue to be on schedule. Our revised schedule is for completion on August the 5th. Our schedule prior to the crash wall was approximately 1 month earlier, just after July 4th. But construction, as I said, is progressing smoothly. The tower went up very well. It was all precast, a lot of it pre-assembled, and it went in very smoothly, tied together real nice. Joints were good, and we're expecting that to be the case on the Birmingham side as well. So hopefully in another month you will see the 2 towers up, and at the end of April you'll see the bridge in between, and certainly the outline of the building taking shape. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there questions for Mr. Van Dett? Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Just one question, Mr. Bandett. Thank you for the update. Following our approval of the cost for the crash wall, several council members received an email from someone inquiring about the cost and the justification of that cost, which I forwarded to our city manager. And just for the record, I understand that that's being evaluated now, and we'll be getting a report. Will council be getting a report on that?
Yes, we've gathered up all the information regarding the cost, what goes into the cost, why the cost is what it is, and that information is being, it is nearly complete and will be submitted to council in the very near future.
Thank you. I look forward to receiving that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Bandett. Thank you. Our next order of business is the Troy Nature Society presentation by Carol Anderson, Recreation Director. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In 2010, a very committed and dedicated group of supporters of the Nature Center formed the Troy Nature Society. The goal of the group, in part, was to continue to offer Nature Center programs that the city could no longer support. The city entered into an agreement with the Nature Society in June of 2011 for use of the Nature Center to offer nature-based programs and events. The 2-year agreement expires June 30th of this year. I am pleased to introduce John Reagan, the president of the Troy Nature Society. John will be making a presentation of the current status and future of the Nature Society.
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman, City Manager Kirsnick, and staff. My name is John Reagan. I'm the president of the Troy Nature Society. Who are we? The Troy Nature Society is a 501c3 nonprofit organization operating within the Lloyd A. Stage Nature Center. We assumed operation in July 2011 and are currently presenting public and school nature education programs. We have successfully completed 2 audits. We're done with that. Our mission is to provide resources and education to inspire the appreciation and preservation of nature. We operate within the Lloyd A. Stage Nature Center. We are open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, as well as the center will be open or is open if there are any public programs that go on other than those days. There's a 70-acre nature preserve plus a 30-acre farm. In our new agreement that we're proposing to the city, the TNS is proposing that we take over the farm area in addition to the preserve, with the exception of the buildings and the senior gardens. The trails are still open year-round from dawn to dusk. In our last fiscal year, we had 8,253 visitors as well as participants. What do? We offer seasonal programs and events covering family activities, elementary and middle school programs, preschool programs, and adult education. We also offer in the summer week-long programs for students aged 6 to 12. For the last 2 years, we have had an agreement with the Troy School District to support Title I school summer programs. This has been a grant-funded program for us in the past, and we're looking to do that again this year. This year, for the first time, we are also proposing with the school district, Troy Athens, to bring in students that are learning disabled, and put them to work within the Nature Center. These are short programs and we're in the process of defining what they will be doing. We also, for the first time within the fiscal year, we brought in the Junior Naturalist Club. That had been postponed or put in mothballs, if you will, for several years as the city was winding down its operation with of the Nature Center. We thought this was a very important program, so we brought it back, thanks to a donation to help us subsidize the program while we build up the participants. We also work with school field trips, Boy and Girl Scout field trips, and badge education, and we do have a photo club that most of the pictures that you'll see in this were taken by that group. Our core values. We want to make a positive difference in our community, providing opportunities for environment education and recreation in nature. Our public interpretive programs are for individuals of all ages. We implement school programming that serves the needs of local schools, educators, and their students. We help manage the 100 acres of land as a natural resource so as to preserve the integrity of its plants and wild animals. We expand our cooperative programming with other organizations, for instance, the Troy Historical Society. Our environmental education programs include learning in the field as well as in the classroom. We incorporate teaching methods of outdoor education, experimental education, and place-based education. All of these are inherently disciplinary. We promote school and community partnerships. We are hands-on, student-centered, and inquiry-driven, engage higher-level thinking skills, and relevant to students' everyday lives. We do make a difference. We get people outside. We are counteracting the nature deficit disorder. We benefit the children by facilitating greater motor fitness, improved cognitive development, increased sense of wonder, awareness, and creativity. We benefit both families and individuals by buffer the impact of life's stress. We create positive environmental ethic, and we make fun out of walking in nature. We promote our community assets by keeping programs and the building available to the community for outdoor activities. We provide education on identification and proper removal of invasive plant species. This is a big operation for us. 100 acres is a lot of land to keep the invasive plants out of. We promote stewardship by conducting programs, projects caring for native wildlife, plants, trees, conserving soil and water resources. The operative word here is native. Don't want to get the invasives in. We preserve natural features and space important to defining community image and distinctive character. We encourage children to be active stewards of the environment. We have a 2-year agreement with the city, and within that agreement, it can be extended for 2 years. We are proposing to the city that we change the agreement to a 4-year agreement with a 4-year extension, if so desired. This was this addition of the time was a discussion that we had within the board as well as with the auditor, felt that we would have more opportunity for grants and donations if we were at a 4-year agreement. The city still remains ownership of the property and is responsible for utilities, security, buildings, ground maintenance, and major capital repairs. The society is responsible for collections management, volunteer and staff management, all programs and services, marketing, fundraiser, and information technology. We need to grow. We understand that. How are we doing that? We're recruiting new board members with skills in strategic planning, financial management, and education. We're increasing our membership and volunteer participation in the Society's activities. We expand cooperation with Troy and other regional school districts in support of nature education programming. We increase participation in the Troy Chamber of Commerce. We continue cooperative programming with the Troy Historical Society. We look to expand the educational programs to encourage appreciation and stewardship of the natural world. Here you see the budgets for the last few years. And that's not all there. There's another slide. I'm sorry. What is missing are the budgets for the city in fiscal year 2011 and 12 and 2012 and 13. This does show, quick math, a 90% reduction in cost for the city for the 2011 through 2013. It's a significant change. We're taking the challenge to fill the gap. You see in the TNS operations for the fiscal year 2011-2012, we had a budget of $54,381. For this fiscal year, our budget is $120,000. We increased the budget because we needed more programs, we wanted new programs, and we need to support our infrastructure in keeping up with the pace of what's going on around us. Here's the financial transaction for the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2012. You can see that we made a positive impact in our assets. I'm sorry, that's not the way it is today. That was last year. We had made significant increases in our costs, and they have not kept up with our revenue. It's a fact of life. We just move on and see what we can do. Working together, we are partnering with the city to support and promote economic and community development. We are continuing our partnership with Carol Anderson and Kurt Bovensieb to maintain the Stage Nature Center building and park. This is significant. This is a great partnership that we have. The communication that I have with those two is phenomenal and quick. Their response to all the questions and inquiries I have come back quite quickly from them. What we're doing now is requesting the City of Troy provide the following annual financial support. Core services as outlined in the agreement. Operational support of $50,000. And capital maintenance. It didn't. Oh. Any questions?
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Any questions from council?
Yeah. Brian, I guess I would have a question. Where would this fall in the budget?
Well, in fact, we met with Carol and Tom Darling on the recreation budget today, and Mark as well. So we are talking about it in the recreation budget in the general fund.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Any questions?
Mayor Pro Tem Fleming.
I don't think we're in a position to say yes or no. Obviously, we have to look at the budget in its totality and see what we can do. But I do have one question. You were talking about taking on additional responsibilities and so forth, but I do recall seeing there's been some issues in the past with the senior gardening program. Mm-hmm. You specifically eliminated that. You're taking over the farm, but not the senior gardening program.
Right.
Is there a reason you just don't have the resources to take that on? Is that a huge responsibility? Because I know that's an area, Mr. Reagan, that seems to be lacking from prior years.
We were asked several months ago to look at that, as the board of directors did do a deep dive into the financials. It came up that it would take additional personnel at least through the 6 months, 6 months of the year, and we would have to somehow come up with all of the equipment and resources to do the early preparation of the farm. It was beyond our budget. It was just beyond our budget. So we had to turn it down. But we did look at it. Oh, yes. Yeah. We know that it's an important piece of the property. And, yeah, if we were better off, if we had 5 or 6 years under our belt and managing the whole property and had the structure, the infrastructure, yeah, it could be done. But we're not ready yet. Okay.
Councilman Pennington?
It seems like an easy thing for us to do would be to revise the 2-year agreement to a 4-year agreement, and you said that that would help you with grants.
Yeah.
How much do you think that would come up to approximately?
I really don't know. I don't know.
Because they advise you to change that?
Yes. Yeah, the auditor brought it up, and we had been talking about it in the board meeting. And we thought it was a good idea, and there was, support to say, yeah, we've got to do that. Yeah.
Why is that? Why would that be?
Well, a grant could be over multiple years, or it could be a sizable grant. And if we only had a 2-year lifespan, with the city having the ability to end the agreement, why would they put money into that? Sure. With a 4-year agreement, we have a better opportunity, but and it just looks better. Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Our next order of business is public hearings, and we have one public hearing scheduled this evening, a rezoning application for proposed 1071 Villa Park. So I will open a public hearing, and it looks like somebody from the city is ready to make a presentation. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Slater, City Council. The subject property is located on the east side of Rochester Road, south of South Boulevard. It's located just south of Woodside Bible Church. And it's presently zoned R1D, 1 family residential. And there you see the existing zoning map. To kind of explain why we're here this evening, I want to jump in the time machine and go back to 1972. 1972, this property was rezoned to CR1, 1 family cluster development, and it was developed as a single family attached residential development. And it remained that way for about 40 years. Fast forward to 2011. We undertook a comprehensive rewrite of our zoning ordinance, including the zoning district map. And in 2011, we combined 4 zoning districts that all permitted attached single-family uses. We rolled them into one district, the RT, 1 family attached district. For whatever reason, this property was supposed to be zoned changed the zoning from CR1 to RT. It was incorrectly rezoned to R1D, 1 family residential. It was an administrative error. The problem with that is, by changing the zoning, we've now created all the buildings on that property are now legal nonconforming, which creates issue with lending companies. Essentially, because of the legal nonconforming status of the use in the buildings, if any of them were to be destroyed by fire or any other disaster, they could not be rebuilt as they are today without a variance. So this rezoning will clear this up. The rezoning is consistent with the City of Troy Master Plan, which contemplates attached residential along Rochester Road. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on this application February 12th, 2013, recommended approval of the rezoning application, and City Management recommends rezoning the property from R1D, 1 family residential, to RT, 1 family attached. And I can answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions at this point? Is there anybody from the audience that wishes to speak on this item this evening? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and return it to the table for a resolution. Mayor Pro Tem Fleming.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you for that excellent report there. and makes perfect sense to me. So I will move the resolution as printed to rezone this area from R1D to RT, as written.
Support.
Dave.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Fleming and supported by Councilman Henderson that we approve the resolution as printed. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Our next order of business is public comment for items on the agenda. And for those citizens that plan to speak at either of the public comment sections this evening, please review the rules and regulations portion of the agenda, as we will strictly enforce those rules. Our first speaker is Marv Reinhardt, who will speak on C-01, O-02A, and O-1C. Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor Slater, for letting me talk. I like to, the only thing I want to talk about this CO1 thing is because they keep talking about taxi cab service attached to this location. And I'm just explaining to you that we better have the rates fixed up. So when I call a taxi cab from City Hall to go to the transit center, I know it's going to cost X number of dollars. It won't depend on what taxi cab service happens to show up. And that's something that hasn't been addressed at all, but I'm sure it's going to be a real problem in the courts when people find out they're being charged all different rates. Okay? And I like to change it to J-04D, and that's about painting our police cars. I believe that high school students could do that type of work. It might not be as good, but it keeps Troy money inside Troy. And I keep saying, why should I as a citizen buy anything in Troy when the city of Troy goes outside to buy services? And that's done time after time after time. I know when early Troy was started, you had to be a Troy business to get a business contract. Now that the people that own those businesses live outside the city, they want to go some type of universal buy-in system. Well, right now the city's being screwed because of that, because we don't know who's doing our work. And the other one was O-0-1, talking about Starbucks in the Oakland Mall area. All that guy had to do was say, somehow we're going to fit the store inside Oakland Mall area, and they refused to build a simple 8-foot sidewalk to make it simple for people coming off the buses off of wherever they're going to build it. And a few weeks ago, you had Hooters had to get out the tape measure, had the traffic guy involved, and I don't know how many agencies, he didn't get his, but the Starbucks guy can just say anything he wants. And then we have this church coming into one of our residential areas, which I guess it's already there, but I would suggest any people that got a church in their neighborhood ask for a reduction in taxes, especially if it's not your religion, because you're not supposed to be supporting other religions except for what you want to support yourself. And that's my 2 cents. Thank you much.
Our next speaker is Nicholas Chiricero, resident, to speak on C-01 and O-02A. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. 15 months ago, in December 2011, I spoke at this lectern against the Transit Center. At that time, I advised that I've never seen a government building project without cost overruns. Obviously, I was correct. Who did the research on this project? Who did not obtain all of the information necessary to do this work? What else did that person forget to examine? If you think that this is the only cost overrun, then you're mistaken. As we get deeper into this project, there will be other things that come up which will also increase costs. If it is the city engineer that is involved, he obviously did not do his homework. I thought the contractor at risk was supposed to be the provider of all cost overruns. If that's so, why was it necessary to go back to the federal government to get the increase of $350,000? Obviously, the contractor at risk did not do his homework either. If he had, the wall that is necessary would have been discovered a year and a half ago. What a sham. We have a city engineer who does not know how to do his job. We've hired a contractor who did not do his job. In addition, we have a city attorney who is still fighting in the appellate court to determine the true ownership of the land that we're building this center on. In addition, why is the wall cost so high? Engineering sources tell me that if I padded actual costs significantly, $350,000 would still be 3.5 times too high. It sounds like someone's going to make quite a nest egg on this addition. As a taxpayer, I'm furious about this. Once again, we're saddled with the costs for a center we did not need. I know that the people who are in favor of the center will say, we're using federal money. The last time I looked, which was last week, we also pay federal taxes, so it's still our taxpayer money that's involved. Whoever the new mayor will be has his job cut out for him. He's surrounded by a bunch of incompetents that do not know how to do their job. If they do not resign, they should all be fired. Thank you.
That completes the list of citizens that have signed up to speak. Our next item of business is response to public comment. Councilman Henderson.
Yeah, I was going to pull a couple of consent items out just to kind of talk about purchasing in Troy, but Mr. Reinhardt kind of pulled one out for me. And I just want to explain that, you know, all these jobs that we bring in and have done, they put them on the Mitten website and put them out to bid. And, you know, that specific one I wanted to bring up as well because I'm sure there are no less than 20 businesses in Troy that could do that specific job, yet only one person even bid to badge or put nameplates on our vehicles. So again, I don't know if there's a real fix to that. I don't know what we can do proactively to try to get the message out to Troy businesses that they need to go to the Mitten website to try to get some of these jobs that are out there. But yeah, it would be nice to see more Troy businesses participate in our needs. That's it.
Anything from the city administration? Our next order of business is postponed items. And our first hearing is National Coney Island, Inc. This is a postponed item from February 20th, 2013, a liquor violation hearing. So I will open public hearing and ask, are we going to hear from National Coney Island first, or is the Assistant City Attorney want to speak first?
However you want to do it, Mayor Slater. I want to introduce myself for those of you who don't know who I am. My name is Julie Quinlan Dufresne, and I am the Assistant City Attorney for the City of Troy. Today we do have representatives from National Coney Island, their attorney Lisa Hamema, and the manager Dan Roma.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Good
Mayor.
evening. Good evening.
Council members. My name is Lisa Hamame. I'm from Adkisson, Need, and Allen. We are attorneys, and we do represent National Coney Island. With me today is Dan Roma. He's the CFO of Corporate National Coney Island. I understand that this item was postponed primarily because a representative wasn't here, and I'd like to truly apologize for that error last time. As far as this incident, we are acknowledging this violation. We have taken steps to rectify the problem. I would like to point out to you that the last sale to minor or violation at all at this location was in 2003. Since then, there have been 11 pest control buys. Your city is very vigilant, and they do these tests several times a year. It's not common to see this many pest control buys, but then when you look at the dates, I do need to point that out to you and to tell you that we have a zero tolerance policy at the location. actually all of our locations, and this individual person was terminated immediately, and that is the policy for National Coney Island if there is a sale to minor. Also like you to know that we have taken the extra step to train one of our corporate staff members to be a tips trainer, and in fact has retrained all of the servers at the Coney Island in Troy. I'm sure you want to hear from Dan right now, but I could tell you, speaking to Dan, this is something that Coney Island takes very seriously, and I cannot convey that point to you enough. If you have any questions for either myself or Dan, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you. I just would like to say that it's good to see that you were proactive, and I did take a look at the record, and you are correct. This is somewhat of an isolated incident, and one of the requirements by this council is to do tips training, retrain, and if a resolution is passed, there will be a requirement to produce that.
I have them with me.
I can tell you're prepared tonight, so I think from our standpoint, that's good that you were proactive, and at this point, I think we'll hear from the Assistant City Attorney about the facts of this incident.
Thank you, Mayor Slater. If I may just give a brief recitation of the facts. This sale to minor took place on November 13th of 2012 under the direction of the Director Patrol Unit with the Troy police officers. A minor decoy did enter the restaurant and sat at the counter. She ordered a glass of wine, and what's interesting, I think we talked about this last time briefly, what's interesting is the decoy indicated she didn't have her license with her. The server asked her what year she was born, and she replied 1993, which would still have made her under the legal age to purchase the alcohol. The server ended up serving her the wine anyways. The server did pay a fine, admitted responsibility for the civil infraction. She paid a fine on November 30th, $100. It's my understanding that the MLCC disposition is still pending. It has not been adjudicated yet, and I believe the hearing is scheduled for March 25th of this year, so a couple days from now. And as Ms. Hamema indicated, the last sale to minor violation at this location was April 23rd of 2003. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and return it to the table for a resolution. And first, I'd like to let City Attorney Bloom speak.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. We did slightly modify things since the last time. The first resolution is the resolution not objecting, but requiring the tips and TAMs. So if that is council's desire, then you should pass that resolution. There is an alternative resolution that would be objecting, but it's either A or B. It should not be both.
Thank you. Somebody like to move the resolution? Councilman Teets, I see you moving your microphone.
I'd like to move Resolution A, which would recommend renewal of the liquor license for the 2013 license year.
Thank you.
Support that.
Moved by Councilman Teets and supported by Mayor Pro Tem Fleming that we approve the resolution A as printed. Discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Fleming.
I'm sure that representatives from National Coney Island have read this resolution in detail and are totally agreeing with all the training and so forth that's necessary, because this is, although you haven't had a violation in 10 years, we take this very seriously. And we wouldn't want to see you back next year. The outcome might be considerably different than it is today. So please make sure that you comply with all the tips and TAMS training satisfactory and present the results to our police department within 90 days.
It looks like they're ready tonight.
I think they are.
Further discussion? The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Our next order of business is H2, liquor violation hearing for Manjin Lao, Inc. This is a postponed item from February 20th, 2013 liquor violation hearings. I will open the public hearing, and the Assistant City Attorney will give a statement.
Just briefly, I wanted to introduce today, we do have some representatives of Monjin Lao, the restaurant itself, and we also have representing Monjin Lao, Harold Freed and John Henke, who will come forward.
Evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
Council members, 1 second. I apologize.
Mayor Slater, I know you have all had an opportunity to review the documents in your packet. Mr. Freed has asked that I give a brief recitation of the violations. On October 31st, 2012, Monjin Lao held a Halloween party. They had been given approval for an outdoor service tent and a special dance permit from the MLC to have that Halloween party on October 31st. They also received they also had a letter of understanding with the police department allowing them to go forward with that party as well. They were told, well, that letter of understanding outlined that if the police department had to be called, the fire department had to be called, they would not receive a warning, they would receive some sort of violation as warranted. Around 10:30 that night of October 31st, the police department did receive a phone call that there was congestion in the area of Stevenson and Maple Roads, which is where Monjin Lao was located. When the police officers arrived, they noted that there was likely an overcrowding situation within the tent that was set up outside and also in the building. After the police department then called personnel from the fire department to come. When the fire department personnel arrived, they initially started counting the number of people in the tent, and it was immediately apparent that they were well over the occupancy level of 85 people. Next, the fire department personnel attempted to enter the restaurant, but it was difficult for the fire department personnel to even get past the hostess stand as it was overcrowded. There were estimates of upwards of 500 people in the Monjin Lao building itself, where the occupancy level was set at 250. Thank you. It's my understanding that Monjin Lao is going to acknowledge the overcrowding that happened on October 31st, 2012. That acknowledgement alone could serve as a basis for this municipal legislative body to object to the automatic renewal of their license. In an effort to keep Monjin Lao in business, they're a long-standing business here in the city of Troy, our office, along with Mr. Freed and Mr. Henke, have attempted to work out an agreement that we have presented to you for your consideration. This agreement essentially would suspend the requests for special events from Monjin Lao for a 1-year period. It would also keep them from asking for special outdoor service tents for a period of 2 years. The agreement also acknowledges that they're no longer going to be receiving warnings from the fire department personnel or the police department personnel if they're warranted. They're not going to receive warnings. They'll receive actual violations if they're warranted. They've also agreed that their servers, all of their wait staff and their bartenders, will go through TIPS and TAMS training. They've also recently, as of January 1, as a result of the October 31st incident, they've contracted with a licensed, bonded, and insured security personnel who will be present. They will be responsible for keeping a count of the number of people so they don't run into a situation of occupancy overload. They've also agreed that their security staff will go through some sort of TIPS and TAMS equivalent training so that they can spot people who are too intoxicated to drive, and they will be taking away keys of people who have overindulged. Same thing with their valet staff. They have agreed that they will offer some sort of have the valet staff go through the equivalent of TIPS and TAMS training for their valet staff. I think I have hit all of the highlights of the agreement. I would like this body to understand that we had to make two minor changes to the agreement as it was originally presented to you on page 2 of the agreement at paragraph 1. My mistake, I had written that the Chinese New Year's parties would occur annually in March. I was wrong. They're actually January and February. So we took out the word in March and just left it at annually. And then on page 5, paragraph 5, clause C, we took out the word shall and changed it to may, which leaves a little more discretion for the fire department and the police department personnel. Obviously, Mr. Henke and Mr. Freed are available to answer questions. I'm also available to answer questions if you have any.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Henke and I met with the city last week. We've been in contact with them.
Mr. Freed, can you use the microphone? That's the only way we
Sorry, Your Honor. I'm used to being in a courtroom, not in a council chamber. But you guys look much better than judges. But in any event, we met with the city last week. We had quite a few discussions with them. We've been in constant contact with them all week. We've come up with a proposed agreement. I might say this, I've been going to Mount Jinlao now for well over 40 years. I knew the original owner. I've known the son. I know the grandkids. We've had long discussions with them in our office. They understand the importance of these things. I could give you the reasons that the overcrowding occurred that night, but we're not looking to make excuses. We had some staff not show up. Some people did not do the counting they were supposed to. It will not happen again. Obviously, they've been a part of this community for well over 40 years. They want to be a part of this community for another 40 years. They take great pride in the fact that they serve wonderful food and that people from all over the state know about them and come here. And so we're hopeful that the council would approve this agreement. We are going to continue to meet with the city attorneys, continue to make changes and updates as necessary to continue to do the right things both for the business and the community. And you know, we are hopeful that we can continue to be good members of the community, but we're open for questions, obviously, and hopefully we have the answers for you.
Thank you. Questions at this point? Mayor Pro Tem Fleming.
No question. The penalty on 5B specifically, it says that any violation of the terms set forth may serve as a basis for the city to object to the renewal of the liquor license during the city's 2014 annual liquor license review. I think there have been so many serious allegations here. I'm just wondering, just throwing out, do we have to wait until the city's 2014 annual liquor license review if there are problems in the future?
I don't believe the city has to wait. I believe the city, by the language of the agreement that the parties discussed, can take whatever action they need to take. And we are hopeful, of course, that we will comply with everything that the city would like us to do.
City Attorney.
City Attorney Bloom.
Mayor, that is correct. The reason why it's in here like this is to make sure that they at least come and review whether there's a violation or not. They will appear in front of you next year. You will have an opportunity whether or not that's triggered by a violation. So that's an extra protection for council that we put in the agreement.
Thank you. Questions? The owners are here?
The owners are here.
Could you ask them to? I would assume that the fire department and the police department have been in negotiations with this agreement. Is that fair to say?
If I may address that, yes, Your Honor, I did send, sorry, again, like Mr. Fried, I'm used to being in court. Yes, we did, not that you're not honorable, but yes, we did send copies to both police department fire representatives and fire department representatives, and I did not receive any comments back objecting to what we proposed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Additionally, Mr. Mayor, with respect to the valet plan that you've noticed in here, I've had an opportunity to meet with the valet. Julie, city attorney and I have also discussed possibly going to the planning department to modify that plan as necessary. So we were waiting for planning if necessary. If there was something in the plan they didn't like, planning department would have the opportunity, and we're more than happy to revise that if need be.
Okay, makes sense. I just want to say something to the owners. They have been part of this community as long as I've been here for 40 years. The only reason that I'm considering not objecting to the renewal is because they have been here for 40 years and because of this. Because the attorneys were able to come to an agreement, and there's 3 points in here that I'd like to stress. I wouldn't have approved this without the security issue. I wouldn't have done it without the valet issue, and I wouldn't have be doing this if it wasn't for the hard work that you put together to come to this, because we've had agreements with Manjin-Lao in the past, and we're here today because those agreements weren't abided by, but at least there's more teeth in this agreement than there was in the other ones. So from my perspective, I'm giving Manjin-Lao another chance, and I would hope that you feel you're as important to Troy as we feel you are important to Troy. And if I'm around here and you come back again, yeah, I think it'll be quite serious.
I might tell you, Mr. Mayor, I've known Marshall all of my life, and he's been in my office all week with his children. His wife is also here tonight. She's been in the family business since the very beginning. They very much want to be a part of the future of Troy, and our office was not involved in the prior matters. We are now, and Marshall has assured me that they will be working with us in this city to make sure the next 40 years are better than the last.
Thank you. Any other questions at this time? Councilman Henderson?
The overcrowding incident, I don't want it to sound like it was just this a one-off situation, because as I was reading through the information here a few weeks ago when we had this originally planned, I noted that there were 6 overcrowding tickets since '07. Is that accurate, or did I don't want to put you on a spot, but I thought there were multiples anyway. Maybe 6 isn't the right number, but there are more than one.
I think they've been issued as, if I'm thinking of what you're thinking of, I think they were issued as warnings. The fire department and the police department haven't issued actual violations. So the primary example is the 2010 overcrowding issue. They were only issued a warning at that time.
Okay. Can I do a couple follow-ups or no? I don't
Absolutely.
Want to
Absolutely.
Did I answer your question? Okay.
Yep, perfectly. I guess the question I have for maybe the principles of the business, Manjin-Lao has been around for decades and has a great reputation. Families go there and eat. Do we see a change in how your business is going to function in terms of trying to become a nightclub?
Fine dining restaurant. We've been operating it as is. We just have a one evening of dining as well, and nothing has changed.
Okay, so we're not trying to evolve into a nightclub.
We're not a nightclub. We're a fine restaurant, 7 days a week.
Okay, and then just the last question I have. I noticed in here you mentioned the Chinese New Year. That's the one event that you want to hold tight to. Is that an event that you've done in the past? How many years running?
For the last 30, 40 years in Troy.
Very successful, very quiet event.
Okay.
I've been in it many times.
Thanks. The largest basis of this agreement, Councilman Henderson, was to make sure that the Wednesday nights, it was unfortunately sort of the perfect storm because Halloween last year fell on a Wednesday. But on a typical Wednesday night, this is to address, for the most part, the concerns that the city has expressed to us that we've dealt with in order to make sure that both the valet and the crowding, or what's perceived to be a crowd issue and what tends to be the congestion because of the nature of the business, and the actual physical makeup of Manjin-Lao is alleviated.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this item at this time? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and return it to the table for a resolution. Councilman Henderson?
Oh, I'm up? Actually, I'm reading this to make sure what we're resolving here. Does it include this?
Mayor,
You know, I will move Resolution A as printed to get in, but first I'll defer to City Attorney Bloom.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, we do apologize for the very last-minute nature of these changes. Unfortunately, it sometimes happens, but these are changes that we didn't think were substantive. But with that, we do need you to approve the agreement as amended. So the only change would be to have the resolution as printed with the change that it include the agreement as revised.
So I will move that as stated by the City Attorney.
I support.
Okay, moved by the chair and supported by Councilman Henderson that we approve the language in the resolution A with the amended to the agreement. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
They will not disappoint you.
I'm sure. Thank you. Next public hearing is H3, a liquor violation hearing with Simbad Inc. This was postponed from February 20th, 2013, a liquor violation hearing. I will open the public hearing and Assistant City Attorney will give us a statement.
Thank you, Mayor Slater. As you may have read in the memorandum that was provided to you in your agenda packet, there have been some developments since we were last here on February 20th. As you may recall, a representative from Simbad's, also known as the Palms Restaurant, appeared without counsel. And given the nature of the proceedings, he was advised to come back with counsel. Unfortunately, counsel, his name is Shamil Halabu. I have been in contact with him. He called me this afternoon indicating that he had had a death in the family and he could not be here. I indicated to him that there was no way that we could adjourn this hearing, that we had to go forward. When we arrived here this evening, the representative from I have not actually spoken with the representative of Simbad. As you may have read in your memorandum, Mr. Halabu is actually representing owners, proposed new owners for this location. They are trying to first transfer this liquor license from the current owners to a middleman, and then from that middleman to a to sell the license. We have here today the proposed new owners. Again, he is not represented by counsel. It's my understanding that Mr. Halabu is representing everyone in this group. Danny, I forget your last name. Sora indicated to me he is the representative from Thomas and Toma, the proposed new owners. He tried to get another attorney here by the name of Robert Berg. I spoke with Mr. Berg on the phone, and again I told him there's no way that we could adjourn this public hearing, and that he should be here, or try to send someone here. Additionally, I've found out that the representative from Simbad, Seba Garmo, who is the licensee, is not present either. I know that puts this body in a very awkward position. As I said, I think ultimately everyone in this room wants the liquor license to get out of the hands of the people who currently have it. As I'm sure you've read the materials, and I think we all agree that we don't want them to continue to hold a license for liquor here in the city of Troy. And I believe we ultimately want that to go on to new legitimate owners. Unfortunately, that cannot happen until the liquor violations that are pending are cleared up. My information is that those hearings may occur on March 25th. But I recently received from the police department a notice of deficiency. The new owners have not done what they need to do to get their ducks in a row here at the city. So I think we have to proceed with a public hearing. I can recite the facts as they are, and we can move forward there. Again, I think Mr. Sora would like to at least address this body and let you know that he is working to try to be the new owner, but that we don't have a representative from the current owners present.
I don't mind hearing from the potential new owner.
Would you like to hear from them first?
I have a quick question. If we object to the renewal this evening, is that going to have a bearing on a transfer of this license?
Mayor,
City Attorney Bloom?
if I can address that. As you can see, we did recommend the resolution that you do object to it. And the reason for that is we want you to have control over any transfer. The MLCC has made some changes to their transfer, and it's kind of, you do not have as much of a say as far as the new licensee that you would have had. If you do object to it, it will be placed in escrow as of April 1st, and then you can rescind your resolution at any time thereafter. So if you are satisfied that the new owner is going to be very responsible and you have no problems with the transfer, then you can pass a resolution that would rescind your objection.
Okay. Personally, I'm more than willing to listen to you this evening, but it's not really going to have any bearing on my decision this evening, because I wouldn't make a decision other than to object until I know for sure that you are going to be the owner. So you're welcome to speak to us this evening if you want to, and we can take it for what it's worth this evening if you want.
I would like to say a few words.
Sure.
That's okay with you. First of all, I would like to apologize. This whole meeting, I thought it was on the 25th of March. So therefore, I found out about 6:30 this evening, and I came here rushed from work on the way here. I do apologize for any communion that Palms Restaurant or Sinbad has been done. I was a manager from May 1st all the way through October 31st at Sinbad. I managed it for 5 months. When I managed it, this is not a nightclub or anything like that. And that's why I left on October 31st. The reason because, sorry to say this, the poor management that I was dealing with the owner, he's unorganized 100%. I did call him right now 7 times in front of Ms. Julie. He would not answer the phone. When I left from there on October 31st, he did hire 2 managers there, which they had their violation. I purchased the Sinbad Inc. on August 28th of 2012. My understanding is last time we had a meeting with the Liquor Control Commission, all the papers were fine. I had no problem. She is my niece. Her name is Lolita. She's the part owner for the new owners. We are changing a lot of things in our restaurant. Like I said, this restaurant on May when I took over, when I was a manager, I had 22 weddings and communion and baptism. It's more switching it to banquet hall, like Penance Banquet Hall, which is very popular, and daytime restaurant, and the hours will be open from 10 in the morning till midnight, weekends till 1 o'clock. I don't know what to say. The owner should have been here. That's why I left the Sinbad, because a lot of things was not that right with the papers, management. He just called me when I was sitting here. He does have some sick. His mom, she's sick. I do have attorney, Shaman Halabu, which he did call Ms. Julie, and also Bob Burke. But Shaman Halabu, his mom passed away 3 days ago, and today was their burial. And that's the only reason he couldn't come here. So therefore, just want to move everything forward. And I'm spending some money on a restaurant, on a banquet hall, to remodel it and work with the city of Troy. But I do want to say one thing. When I was a manager, on October 31st, there was a lot of problem in Sinbad Inc. There was a party there. Two guys, they want more drinks, and I forced them to leave. They wouldn't leave. I'm the one I called the 911, and I'm the one I kicked them out. And when the manager, the old owner, when they took the violation, the police officer came in while I was there to give him the ticket. He saw me, he knew me. He pulled me to the side, we talked. He says, I believe you were owner or manager. I said, I was manager here. He asked me why I left, and I told him the truth, because of poor management. He says, so you're buying the restaurant now? I said, yes. He asked me the rules for the restaurant, because there's a liquor license in there. And I told him that the lights have to be on at least 10 minutes to 2. No liquor should be on the table, signs. And I told him all the laws. He says, so it seems like we're not going to have no problem with you, which we didn't have no problem with you while you were managing it. So therefore, I would like to ask you and all the councilors and all the city of Troy that lives in there, the residents, to give me that chance to prove to the city of Troy that what I could do and what I could show. I just don't want to talk, but I like to prove things by showing to the city of Troy. Thank you. And I apologize for short time that I found out there was meeting. Like I said, I thought this meeting was on March 25th. And sorry for any inconvenience that they caused. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Slater, may I offer a brief recitation of the facts?
Sure.
On December 12, 2012, Troy police officers were dispatched to the area of John R. and 14 Mile Road for what they thought was a domestic situation. When they arrived, they did not find that described incident. What they did see was an SUV speeding through the parking lot without any headlights on. That obviously caught their attention. When they approached the driver was obviously intoxicated. They put him through sobriety tests, and he failed, which he failed. During the investigation, the driver of the SUV told the officers that he had been drinking at his place of employment. He identified, at the time, the location 336 John R. was known as the Palms Restaurant. He indicated that he was a busboy there. He'd been drinking there as late as 4:30 a.m., which is well after the time designated by law when sale and consumption of alcohol must cease. By the time the officers were speaking to him, it was now 5 a.m. Eventually, the owner of the restaurant did emerge. I'm sorry, the owner of the SUV emerged from the restaurant, and the officer spoke with him about the serving alcohol after hours. The driver of the SUV was arrested. He eventually pled guilty to operating while impaired. You have in your packets a certified copy of that conviction. The owner of the SUV was also issued a citation for allowing an intoxicated person to drive. That matter has not been resolved. His name is Bill Thomas. He is actually here today. He doesn't represent the licensee. He is unrepresented, and because his matter is still pending, I don't believe he's willing to acknowledge that that violation, but I did want to let you know that he is present, again, unrepresented by counsel. Later the next day, the police officers returned to the restaurant. They inquired about the liquor license, and it took the owners several minutes, an inordinate amount of time, to find the liquor license because it was stuffed in the drawer. Liquor licenses are supposed to be posted in a conspicuous place behind the bar. Sinbad's has only been licensed to serve liquor since February of 2010. It's not a very long time. They have not had any previous violations, but this violation is pretty serious. In addition, I should point out there were 2 subsequent violations for after-hours sales and consumption that occurred after our February 20th, our first public hearing, one on February 24th and one on February 27th. As I said, I know you're in an awkward position here not having the representative of the licensee, but I think that just goes to show the lack of interest in what happens with this license. We are recommending that this legislative body object to the renewal, and as Ms. Bloom indicated, you can, when you're satisfied, rescind that objection.
Thank you. I think we're all set. Are there any questions from? No. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this item at this time? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and return it to the table for a resolution. Mayor Pro Tem Fleming.
Mayor, I will move the resolution as printed, which basically is objecting to the renewal of the on-premises license for the 2013 license year, but also that Troy City Council reserves the right to review this resolution for a subsequent sale and transfer of the liquor license, and that a certified copy of this resolution shall be sent to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Fleming and supported by Councilman Pennington that we approve the resolution as printed and stated by Mayor Pro Tem Fleming. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Bittner.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Motion passes. I hope it works out for you, and we will revisit it if you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Our next order of business is regular business, and our first item is I-1, which are board and committee appointments. There are no mayoral appointments at this time. There are city council appointments, and I will give the microphone to Mayor Pro Tem Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 2 appointments tonight to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Resolved that the Troy City Council hereby appoints the following nominated persons to serve on boards and committees as indicated. Zoning Board of Appeals, first we have David Eisenbacher, appointed as an alternate to replace Bruce Bloomingdale for a term expiring January 31st, 2015. And second, Bruce Bloomingdale to replace a resignation by Michael Bartnick for a term expiring April 30th, 2015.
I support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Fleming and supported by Councilman Henderson that we appoint David Eisenbacher and Bruce Bloomingdale to the Zoning Board of Appeals as stated by Mayor Pro Tem Fleming. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next order of business is I-2, board and committee nominations, mayoral nominations. This evening, I am going to move that I hereby forward the following nominated person to serve on the Downtown Development Authority for the vacancy of Michelle Hodges. Term expires 9/30 of 2013, and I am going to nominate Albert Papa.
I support.
Moved by the chair and supported by Councilman Henderson with the nomination of Albert Papa for the Downtown Development Authority for the term to expire 9/30 of 2013. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teetz?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes, motion passes. There are no closed session requests this evening. Next order of business is I-4, a proposed amendment to Chapter 69, Precious Metals, Gems, and Items, and Captain Keith Fry will give a brief presentation. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This agenda item that you have before you is a proposal to amend Chapter 69. The proposed revisions are consistent with state law with the principal addition of provisions allowing for electronic filing of transactions. These revisions will allow the police department to utilize a countywide initiative aimed at tracking transactions in a more effective and efficient manner. This originally was presented to council as an informational item at the March 4th, 2013 regular meeting, and it's now proposed for action this evening. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Captain Fry? Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody like to move the resolution?
Mayor, move the resolution as printed.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Henderson and supported by Mayor Pro Tem Fleming that we approve the resolution as printed. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teetz?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is I-5, a 2012-13 budget amendment. And Mr. Darling will give us, for the Financial Services Director, will give us a brief overview.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. What you have before you is a recommendation based on our periodic review of the capital projects budget in accordance with PA 621. We're making recommendations to accommodate the both the revenue and expenditures related to the Transit Center crash wall, along with a redirection of principal and interest payments related to the 2000 MTF bond debt that was originally budgeted in from the DDA fund to be paid from the capital projects fund.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Darling? Somebody like to move the resolution? Almost, Councilman Pennington, did I see you nod?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I move that we okay the I-5 item as printed.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Pennington and supported by Councilman Henderson that we approve I-5 as printed. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teetz?
No.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anyone on council that wishes to pull item on the consent agenda? Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Resolved that Troy City Council hereby approves all items on the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Fleming and supported by Councilman Pennington that we approve all items on the consent agenda. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Councilmember Teetz?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is the K items, memorandums, and future council agenda items. There are none submitted this evening. Next will be public comment for items not on the agenda. Our first speaker is resident Sharon Surratt. I'm sorry? Surati. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Again, my name is Sharon Surati, and I live at Square Lake and John R. in Troy. I wonder if I can ask how many of you council members are familiar with hookahs and hookah bars. Are you all familiar with that? I saw one yes. Two, okay. Within the last year or so, 4 hookah cafes or bars have opened within a 3-mile radius of my home, and I am very concerned. The CDC fact sheet on water pipe smoking emphasizes that it is as dangerous as cigarette smoking. Hookah smokers are at risk for the same kinds of diseases as are caused by cigarette smoking, including oral cancer, lung and stomach cancer, cancer of the esophagus, reduced lung function, tooth loss, and decreased fertility. Also, sharing the same mouthpiece or hose and or using inadequate sanitized equipment may put the smoker at risk of contracting infectious lung diseases like tuberculosis, hepatitis C, and herpes. In February 2007, the American Lung Association published an alert on the rise of hookah establishments in the U.S. targeting 18 to 24-year-olds. A March 2012 study published in the Canadian Journal of Emergency Medicine focused on carbon monoxide poisoning from hookah smoking. FYI, in a typical smoking session that lasts between 45 to 80 minutes, the smoker may inhale the same amount of smoke produced by 100 or more cigarettes. I have spent hours researching the effects of smoking from a hookah and wonder how our lawmakers missed their opportunity to ban these places when writing the non-smoking law. After sending 3 letters to my state rep, Martin Horelak, I had an opportunity to personally speak to him at a tax meeting here in Troy and got my answer. I asked how these hookah bars could have slipped through the cracks when writing the no-smoking bill. Mr. Horelak told me cigar bars were of the greatest concern at the time the bill was being written and stated that hookah bars were relatively new and unknown. My reply to him was, if I was on a committee to create a no-smoking law and didn't understand the concept of hookah, I would have done my due diligence and researched, and then I would have advised on the facts. However, our legislators didn't do their job, and now we are backed into a corner. In 2010, Michigan passed a no-smoking law that applied to most places except cigar bars and hookah bars, and I am personally livid over the lack of research on hookahs, something that should have been done before the bill was enacted. I have written to Governor Snyder, Senator Papageorge, my state rep Martin Horelak, Mr. Orlando.
I'm sorry, but your time is up.
Okay.
We have a 3-minute time limit.
Oh, all right.
on
I
our
guess
rules.
my bottom line is, in closing, I'd like to know what and if Troy can do about the debacle that's been created in Lansing.
Thank you. Our next speaker is resident Marv Reinhardt.
Thank you, Mayor Slater, for letting me talk. I handed out a little brochure today, which I normally do when I talk. The first page is trees. You got a 10-acre condominium that's took off 10 acres of trees. You got 5 more acres of trees going to be taken up by the solar park. And now you got 5 more acres of trees will be taken up by that church over there at Adams and Square Lake. That's 30 acres of trees taken out of this city. Now, how many trees the city's going to build to put back them trees? I don't know. The next page is from India. That they're sending somebody from India to set up a shop inside Troy, Michigan. And if you look at the time that newspaper was started in 1780, technically when America was founded, it probably was founded by Benjamin Franklin's printing press. The next page is the downgrading of Bank of America stock. That's the company that a few years back, this city council bent over backwards to give this guy a praise after praise of how fantastic Bank of America was. And at the time, he was also involved with the Troy Chamber of Crooks. And at the point, my dad was the 50th year anniversary, but they forgot about his name and brought up Dave, which I talked to Bank of America quite a bit. Okay, you get on my bad side, I just put it on my computer and it reminds me all the time. The next page is Victor Linoval's blog that he hasn't talked on a little bit, and this is more for the city management to know there is an active political group, non-political group, that watch what you people are doing on a constant basis. The next page is the best cities in Michigan. Well, as the best city, Troy is number 76, right behind Novi. And we're also made the 10 miserable cities, and that's why you don't see people bidding for in the city of Troy. Because we do have, and then we slip the third safest, but that's just how the police writes up the problems in the city. And I think they under-report problems in this city, and that's the reason why you got all these problems continually up to the city council meeting. The next, I appreciate that the police department did catch that sex offender in the city of Troy, and you look on the back of it, that within my trailer park, within a couple miles, there's 172 sex offenders, according to the paper here. And then just for the end of it, just tonight, we saw 2 errors in the agenda. And also we saw an error in the business zoning guide that I saw somebody come up here and tell Mayor Daniels that you guys have worked 8 years on the project, there was no mistake on it, and here comes your city official saying, this mistake was on there since 1972. And I'm telling you, in the next election, we're going to have a change in this city, and I'm definitely going to work at it. Have a good day.
Our next speaker is Resident James Savage.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Good evening, members of council. At the last council meeting, Councilman Teets voted no on the solar energy plan because there was insufficient information. Now, as a taxpayer and a DTE customer, I am interested in obtaining all the financial details. What is the total cost of the project? If it takes 3 acres of panels to power the equivalent of 300 homes, is this a good business model? I don't think it is, because if you did the math on the cost of the project and the amount of space, you might find it would take several hundred years to get back the cost. And is DTE paying the full cost of the project? If so, if I were a DTE shareholder, I would be very concerned. Are solar developers GenPoint and Innovatus investing their own money in this project? And what is in it for them? If the federal government is financing the project, then as a taxpayer, I am very concerned, because the track record of the federal government's involvement in alternative energy is not very good, and that is putting it lightly. This may be a good project, but without more information, I would not invest a dime in it. And I urge the council to not continue with this project until all the questions have been answered. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Resident Gordon Shepke.
Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to come up here tonight. I have several concerns. I haven't been here in a while because I've been kind of mulling over these things that I've been thinking about, but and getting some feedback from residents and also from different lawmakers. When Mayor Daniels was mayor of this city, there was 3 things that she had as priorities, and one was transparency, putting the books on the city website. Another was accountability and low taxes. And I'm going to speak on a couple of these items if I have time, but right now I want to talk on accountability. As a resident, 43 resident of 43 years in the city of Troy, I have several concerns that I've expressed before about our city attorney. I've talked to different residents on this issue. I've also had, I've gone to Lansing twice and had a chance to talk to different state officials, because I think that we need the situation, the way we have the city attorneys as the way her office is, I have not seen accountability, and this is something that I'm really concerned about. I know several surrounding communities have the city attorney that are on contract, so that these contracts are due just at budget time, so they have a chance to review the city attorney's performance and go from there, whether or not they're going to renew the contract. And that's true accountability, because right now I don't think there's a whole lot. I brought up the issues before about the big debacle about replacing Mayor Daniels' replacement, where it took a state attorney general and secretary of state and a battery of lawyers and a judge to convince our city attorney that she was wrong in her assessments about the city charter taking precedent. And also there's several other things that I just don't have time to go into tonight, but I think accountability in any city, if it's going to be run properly, is very, very, very important. I'm glad that you're reviewing that crash wall, because that's another thing that really sent up a lot of red flags. I've had a lot of experience in construction, and we've had so much corruption in Detroit, and we just got done with a bunch of trials going down there with anyway,
Thank you.
I don't have any more time, but thanks a lot for your listening.
Our next speaker is resident Nicholas Scherzero.
Good evening again. Good evening. In January, I spoke of a FOIA that I presented to the city clerk in early December. I was given notice that more time was needed, and as a result, I received it in early January. What I received was about 130 pages of materials. All but 8 of these pages came from the city website or local newspapers. None of these materials pertained to my request. I'm sure that if the 8 pages alone were sent to me as requested, my invoice would have been much lower than the $139 that I paid. If the clerk department did not understand my request, they should have called sometime during the 20 days that they had to get the material to me. Again, I feel that $139 is too much for 8 pages of material. Please consider this, guys. Don't bury it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is resident Michael Ross.
Good evening, Mayor Slater and members of the City Council. I've been here before to address the issue of replacing the city attorney with a municipal law firm because we have reasons to be concerned about her competence. And Mr. Slater, you've expressed absolute total confidence in her performance, so I'm here to also question your competence in that regard. But that's not the only matter. There's several other issues that bring your behavior into question. You voted for the transit property site, which Troy does not own. You voted for the library millage that Troy does not need. Your failed leadership with respect to the recall election is another matter of concern. You voted against your fellow councilman, Mr. Wade Fleming, who suggested that we should get a consultation from the Attorney General to clear up the matter about what to do with the election. And you decided to vote to break the law and to defer the February election until November. And as a result, that incurred a lawsuit which we lost, even in spite of the fact that we had 11 attorneys there representing the city. At the time, I also saw that there was no transparency with respect to communication with the voters about what was going on. There was information that you had available that you could have made present to the council to help the citizens know what was going on. You opted not to do that. So the election for mayor has been delayed. Instead of having it behind us already in February, we're still awaiting it in May. And I have no idea how much cost that will be for the city. You steadfastly supported Ms. Bloom despite her incompetence. She lied to voters in September, declaring that there was no need for a special mayoral election, and that resulted in a lawsuit. She lied about contacting the Oakland County City Clerk regarding the election, which she did not do. She incurred a lawsuit by the Attorney General.
Mr. Ross, please don't use the podium to call people liars.
Well, there was a lack of truth then, let's just say. She advised for the transit center when we do not own the property, and she's also got a vital role in the Detroit DDA default, risking a potential $14 million lawsuit. Yet you still express extreme confidence in her behavior when in fact the city residents really do need a municipal law firm to help us with the size of city that we are. There's also conflict of interest here. I understand that you collect a police pension and, if I understand correctly, family life care, health care benefits, and every time you vote on the city budget, you're voting on those benefits that you enjoy. And there's still a matter outstanding of $40,000 that disappeared from the police records that you've not taken a lie detector for. So those are my matters of concern. Thank you.
Our next speaker is resident Wayne Hsu.
Hi, everyone. My name is Wayne. I've lived for almost 18 years, and my whole life has been here in Troy. This is my hometown, and it'll always be my hometown. And I just wanted to just say a quick number of things. I'm leaving for college this upcoming fall, and I just want to show my immense gratitude for all the work that's been done here, the public service that you guys have, and the continual improvement that you guys are progressing toward. And just three things that I've noticed that makes Troy great is its safety, education, and diversity. And I hope, you know, amidst all the politics that goes on, amidst all the nasty comments that you guys occasionally hear, that these three qualities continue to live on for the city of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So again, thank you all, and good luck with the future of Troy.
Thank you. That concludes the list of residents that have signed up to speak. Our next order of business is council referrals. There are no council referrals. Council comments. Any comments this evening? Next item is reports. There's several reports this evening. Does anybody want to discuss any of the reports in the agenda? No study items this evening, no closed session this evening. We are adjourned.